Hi, everyone. My name is Patti. I am an intuitive dreamer, interpreter, and channeler. And I am here to share with you a dream that I had that helps us to understand how we can go from receiving guidance into action. And how do we follow the signs? And what happens when we receive guidance and we have a lot of things that come up around that and we don't always follow through. So this dream was helpful to me. It gave me direct information of what I am to do. And when I got that direct information, I had a reaction. And then I had resistance. And then I worked with that resistance with the spiritual realm to get to a place of action. And so I wanted to share with you the dream and the helpfulness that you can gain from the dream to learn how you can take information that you're receiving and follow it through to fruition. So in this dream, I had just come out of a time, or I am coming out of a time. It only happened a couple of weeks ago that I had the dream. I'm coming out of a time of quiet and a time of reflection. I haven't really been out in the world in terms of social media or anything like that since probably I published my first book. May have been like a couple of years ago. And I'm in the process of editing my second book. And that is also that book is more on channeling. So I am trying to come out of this cocoon stage and see where it's most beneficial for me to tap into the communities out there. And I am, confused at this time, but I'm open. I'm open to receiving guidance and understanding. So in this dream, I am actually sleeping and I'm observing myself sleeping. I'm sound asleep and I'm woken up by the TV going on in my room, and it just goes on, and there's on the TV is a tarot reader, and she's giving me a reading, and she's telling me a lot of information, and I can't not keep up with it. So I'm in that half sleep, just coming out of it. I'm confused. I hear information, but I'm like, can't process it fast enough. And I know I'm getting all this information, but I don't know what it is. So this is very much like you might hear about a download or something like that, where you're in that state, whether it's a meditative state, whether it's a state where you're just coming out of a dream or out of your sleep and you're getting this information, but you're not consciously able to completely know exactly what it is, but it's in there somewhere. So that's the sort of feeling I'm getting. And there was this very distinct moment, though, what I heard clearly is she said, "It is important for you to share your dreams." And I argue with her, and I sort of argue. I say, "But I've already done that. I did that in my first book." And she says, "No, your current dreams." And then I have this confusion, or more surprise and then confusion. I have no clue what that means, how it looks, anything. I don't even know the significance of it. And she then sees my confusion and she says, "And I can help you with that if you need it." And then she goes on to give me a ton of other information. So when I wake up, I write everything down. I would encourage you to do that because you think you're going to remember it, but you don't always remember it. So I immediately write everything down. What I normally do, and this is just a little hint for those who are receiving messages in dreams, before I even get out of bed, I recall the dream and every aspect of it that I can before I completely open my eyes. I actually don't write it down while I'm in bed. I just sort of like let it kind of sink in there. And then I get up, get my coffee, get in my chair, my meditation area, and then I write it all down and then I contemplate it. So I write it all down and I recognize, okay, this is very surprising information for me, as you could tell in the dream. So I ask you to think about this in terms of your own life. When you have information that comes to you that is not expected, and it comes to you in an organic way. In other words, you're not getting the information through your intellect where you're just going over and over and over something, or researching, all of that kind of like mental energy that you put out there. It just comes to you, and it's, well, that's surprising. I always pay attention to that. The surprise element is my indicator that it may be something that I need to pay attention to, that it's really for the benefit of me and others. So surprising information, because my dreams, I thought I was already sort of done with that. I wrote a book about it, shared many, many, many of my dreams. I covered so many topics that are universal to all of us, and the spirit's answer to that. It includes practices, all this stuff. I'm like, okay, I'm moving on. I'm doing a channeling book. This is really about other things. And so it was surprising. Okay, so this is something I need to pay attention to, but I don't understand what it means. In those times when you don't understand what it means, don't start using your intellect to figure it out. Wait, be open, look for signs, look for guidance, be quiet in your inner being. Don't overanalyze. Just wait. The waiting for signs is not necessarily something that we do easily. But I have found that it's like the Zen story, or the Buddhist story about tugging on a plant that's just started to take root, and we want it to grow fast. So we tug on it and we work on it. And of course that weakens the root, and it can't flourish and grow into its fullness. So I waited, open, confused, but waited. Now, here is some of the signs that happened for me that I got, some of the hits that I got. One of them was, well, first I would say I had a lot of resistance and a lot of confusion. Wrote all those things down. How is that going to happen? I don't have a quiet place to make an audio. I don't even know what dreams I would share. What would be the purpose of them? You get it, because I'm sure that you understand how that part of our mind works. So I get this one morning. I just randomly click on this YouTube video. I just do that sometimes just to see what's going on. And I didn't even know this from the title that this is what it was, but it was someone sharing a dream they had the night before. And I'm smiling because I love when these things happen because it's so obvious to me. It's like, hello, I'm going to give you some information. So she shares this dream, and it was a very simple dream. It had one symbol in it, wasn't complicated. And she shared the symbol, and then she made meaning out of it that was helpful to other people. It was helpful to her, but it was helpful to other people. And I got something out of it. So, note to self, okay, that was short and sweet. And I took something from it and I was able to use it. So I put that, okay, I'm going to collect that as a sign. So then fast forward maybe a week or so, and I'm telling a friend of mine about this, and she says to me, oh, I had a dream. Now she generally doesn't dream or doesn't remember her dreams, but she had this one dream just the night before. And she starts telling me about this dream. And again, I get what she's saying in terms of how it could be helpful to me. I'm like, that is a helpful symbol. So as we're starting to go through it together, what it means for her, it was also, oh, I can take something from that. And sure enough, like that following day, I was using that dream. I was like, oh, I remember when this happened, and that was useful to me. So I'm like, okay, well, obviously other people's dreams, are useful. I knew that because I had already published a book about it, but it was sort of these newer dreams are just as helpful as the ones, that I had written in the book. So I understand all of that, and I get all of that. So now I'm more open, right? So we go from a stage of you get a guidance and you feel surprised. Then you might feel confused. Then you might notice resistances and fears and some of those things that come up for us that are hidden within our subconscious. And again, I would recommend, don't push those aside. Allow them to be there. They need to be recognized and honored as something that is within us, that maybe thoughts and beliefs and things that we've carried for a long time. And there they are. And it's okay to acknowledge them. I have fear. I'm confused. I don't understand. This is making me feel so uncomfortable. And when we sit in that place of uncomfortableness, or some of these things that are arising in us, we can allow both that and the love to be there at the same time. So it's like exposing a wound and then putting this nice healing balm on it. So that can be a huge part of going from guidance to the fruition, is to allow, as long as it takes. Don't rush it. Don't say, I got to be over this tomorrow because I got to get going. Anytime you have to get going, and it can be a sign that you're trying to override these uncomfortable feelings. And I would highly recommend, based on my own experiences and the benefits of sitting with that for a while and then letting it happen organically. So as I'm getting through the resistance, then I start getting the signs. I didn't get the signs until I got through the resistance. Then I started getting the signs, and I started to more open, sort of like a flower that's trying to, it's getting more and more sun. So it's just opening and opening and opening. And then I sat with this awareness. Okay, I feel more open now to this. How could this happen? How can it be done? And again, I don't go into my intellect. I find my intellect makes me crazy. It's just too much of a spinning hamster wheel. I just get quiet. I ask the question and then I get quiet, because if I'm asking a question, it means I don't know. So if I start answering myself, I'm going to answer from a place of confusion. So I ask a question and then I wait. And when I feel something come organically, an idea, a thought, something I hadn't really considered before, I start utilizing that. So I got some ideas of how I could make this video thing so easy for me, time-wise, energy-wise, making it easier for the listener, et cetera, et cetera. And then the next step is action. Action doesn't have to be attached to outcome. You can move forward, and that could be all you have to do, and it could just end right there. But the action part of it is usually when everything comes up. You have the faith and the trust, but you also have the uncomfortableness that happens when we go into action and we actually try to do something. And again, that's the time to be quiet inside and ask for help. And that was the part of the dream that I loved, where the tarot reader said, I notice your confusion, basically, and I see what's happening when you're receiving this information, and I can help you with that. If you want it, I can help you if you want it. So I think asking for help and not being attached to the outcome. So in other words, I'm willing to do this first video, and then I'm willing to let that be the only one I ever do. Or maybe I'll do it again tomorrow. And maybe this is all I needed to do, was just get through that resistance and get to the action part and listen and allow and all of that to take place. So you can act without being attached. And that is a more peaceful way to go about following through on guidance. And part of that is, when I say don't be attached, you're not attached to the outcome. The process of what you're going through is where all the gifts are. If you think about the goal isn't to achieve something in this world. The goal is to shed anything that is protecting our heart and our spiritual energy from expanding out into the world. And when you feel like this protection part, and the protection can actually be our fears, our beliefs, and all of that, that can actually feel like a protection. And when they melt away, or when we shed them through this process of receiving guidance and following through, the goal, the ultimate goal here is you're more free to express and be the love and the light that you are in the world. Because now, whatever that process was that you went through, uh, was releasing what all those things that keep us contained, and in our little cocoon. And think about the light under the bushel. It's like the light wants to shine, the inner light wants to shine out, but we have all of this that's keeping it sort of hidden, not only from others, but from ourselves. So if you keep in mind, the benefit of following through with guidance is really that inner awareness and experience of what you truly are. And the goal is not to achieve that thing in the world, although you can achieve that thing in the world, and that thing could explode. It could be amazing. But also the guidance could be just to highlight some of the things that are blocking you or keeping you stuck from not being fully who you are in this world. So I hope that dream was helpful, and maybe there will be more.